Hello, my name is Tim Scannell, and I'm Director of Strategic Content for the CIO Executive Council, a global peer advisory community of CIOs and IT leaders. One of the top concerns of IT leaders today is the digital disruption, or the impact of social, mobile, data analytics, and cloud-based technologies on the IT organization and businesses in general. To keep pace with digitally enabled business transformation, IT leaders must engage in collaborative partnerships with business peers, educate them on how digital technology can dramatically impact and redefine an organization's function and goals, and develop and implement digital technology solutions that can result in smarter decisions, increased customer relations, and more channels of revenue. Companies that accomplish all of this can be classified as digital masters, according to expert and CIO Executive Council advisor George Westerman. But it's not that easy. A key part of this game plan is innovation, or fostering an environment that sparks creative thinking and results in effective digital solutions and campaigns, both internal and customer-facing. Today I'm speaking with Eric Singleton, Executive Vice President and CIO of clothing retailer Chico's, who leads digital innovation programs at the company and works closely with other members of his C-suite on customer experience initiatives. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Before we begin, a few housekeeping elements. First of all, I'd like to thank HP for sponsoring this event. This is designed to provide a high level of interactivity with our audience, so if you look to the right, you can post questions there in the column. There's an input box. We're also tweeting, so please feel free to tweet using hashtag CIO Chat. I invite you to answer poll questions in the column as well as they appear, and take part in our instant poll. And please leave comments and engage in a dialogue inside the comments section in the lower area of the page. This discussion should last about 30 minutes, and I invite you to ask questions again, and we'll even have a formal Q&A session following the discussion. 30 minutes, as we know, is more than enough time to accomplish amazing things in a digital world. So with that being said, why don't I ask Eric the first question. Eric, why don't we begin the discussion by you telling us a little about yourself, how long you've been at Chico's, and how long you've been CIO there, and a little about the IT organization.
Sure. Well, I've been at Chico's 3 years come August, and about all but 6 months of that as CIO. We started, about a good 22 months ago, I guess, with this new idea to really put an incredible investment and a lot of time and effort into understanding what had changed in the world of retail, and to try to embrace that and hopefully spearhead some new developments that would benefit our customer base. So we've been at this now for going on almost 2 years, certainly by the end of the summer.
All right, so we all know that digital is playing an increasingly important role in both IT and business in general. There's all sorts of collaboration happening between the IT organization and the business players, the business stakeholders. What do you see as some of the key drivers in this space in both technology and general strategy?
Well, I think the biggest driver is the consumer themselves, and really the sort of the convergence of a lot of different industries that have made available technologies and information kind of all the time for the consumer. So the level of expectation that our customers have, just like so many other businesses, is very, very high. And I think one of the relentless drivers in doing what we're doing is to keep that customer intrigued, engaged, satisfied, over and above our actual product, which I think is fantastic, but the experience of how that product is discovered, observed, and ultimately purchased, and then what happens after the sale. So we are in what we believe is a kind of a relentless race of innovation to elevate that experience for our consumers, our customers, as well as remain and competitive. That's probably the biggest driver. Again, is the surge in digital availability that's affecting all of us, and it's affecting us in our business.
Yeah, and that's certainly a big concern and a big part of your strategy. And I think more so today than maybe 2 years ago, if you see what's happening in terms of connectivity, in terms of the amount of devices out there, and the interaction that and involvement customers have with retail. I mean, it's got to be a challenging environment and constantly changing one.
Well, it is, and I think what my theory on this is that many of the things that we do are really rooted in behavioral thinking. So, you know, suddenly, it seems sudden, all of us have the ability to think of something, some object or something that we want to either consume or we want to have. And at this point in our history, if you will, as you know, you can push a button on a smart device and have that item send you a confirmation that it's on its way to your house within 2 minutes after you thought of it in the first place. So I think that becoming the norm is again paramount in understanding the behavioral aspect of our customer who's starting to expect that. And I think in the world of apparel, there's other elements that enter into it. Fit, you know, how does something fit? How does it look on you? And things of that nature. That's a little different than buying a hammer on Amazon, right? But still, the behavior and the desire is the same. What's the most immediate way I can gratify that desire? Who can do that for me? And will I be satisfied with the result when it arrives? So whether that's online shipped to your house or an in-store experience. And so we've got a multitude of challenges there.
Yeah, and that gratification element I think is interesting because when you get into, as more and more people go to social networks and electronic and technology, they rely on that for the retail experience. It's sort of like a balance between that and the touch and feel of brick and mortar retail. Are there any projects within Chico's where you're trying to find that happy balance between the two?
I think really all of them. We have a term that we came up with a little while ago called the digital retail theater. And the reason we coined that term was we wanted to illustrate that none of these experiences really none of these experiences are optimized unto themselves. So for example, even if you have a great mobile experience, the optimum application of that mobile experience would likely be augmenting it in some way with technologies or content or both that bridge the gap between the mobile experience and, let's say, the in-store or the brick-and-mortar experience. So blurring those lines is, we believe, essential for an optimum experience. And as a result, really every technology that we're implementing, along with its related content, is done so with the very strategic notion of how it relates to the other things we're doing to create this cohesive kind of whole experience, this theater experience that we describe.
And does that theater extend, I know it reaches out directly to the customer, wherever that person may be. Does it also extend into your store? Do you kind of follow that customer into the store, and does the experience continue within the store as well?
Yeah, in a manner of speaking, it does. I'll give you some examples. We have things we call tech tables, and the tech table has been a pretty interesting device for us. You would walk into the store, and by the time you go into the store and start to engage with the tech table, you would be at that moment leaving your other device behind, or at least parking it in your purse, let's say, for a little while. So there's a natural, again, kind of a behavioral handoff. There's no need really for your smartphone, at least as it relates to our store at that moment. Once you see the tech table in front of you, that provides a different, highly engaging experience of its own. So it's not replicating the mobile experience, it's its own experience, but it's one that is a logical handoff from where you were 20 steps ago out in the mall. Another one is intelligent digital signage, which we're doing a lot with right now. We're starting to scale this. The digital signs will display content that is relevant to that particular store in that particular neighborhood at that particular time. So again, the in-store experience is unique in every store with the content that's displayed on those digital signs. So once again, it's complementary to whatever, say, online or mobile device experience that we might be capable of providing. And there's a lot of thought that goes into not having this copying or replication. You know, we don't want you to experience on the mobile device the exact same thing you're going to experience in the store or at home on your laptop or tablet. It's the cohesive nature of how all these things play together that we hope creates an engaging and memorable experience that invites you to come back over and over again.
Right. It's almost like that second screen experience by using an iPad with a television and watching a broadcast. You don't want to interrupt that. You want to supplement that going forward. So we have your tech tables. We have the Chico's Theater. Are these projects that were pretty much driven by IT, or did they come from the business side?
I think, you know, initially the seeds of these things probably came primarily from IT. We were certainly invited to do that by the business side, though, which I think is probably crucial, right? So, you know, there was a movement that was beginning at the top of our company, which was that we need to innovate. Excuse me. We need to innovate, and I felt very strongly that at that moment, our leadership really gave us permission to go ahead and do something that breaks the mold. You know, be innovative, if you will. So that's really all you need to hear from your leadership, and we took that directive or that invitation and really ran with it. Now, fortunately, we've had enormous support, continued support from leadership as we kind of came out with the first thing, which was really the tech table. That was successful for us, and both as a functional device, and also I think it started to build the excitement around, hey, we can do this. So then we came out with the next thing and the next thing and so on, and now we're really in a terrific position of having momentum and a little bit of street credibility, if you will. So it's gotten a little bit easier.
So do you have specific teams within IT that are assigned to drive innovation, or is it something that's across the whole IT organization?
Well, we do have a specific team that is very inspirational with not only, you know, driving innovation, but the innovation process. And they really inaugurated wrapping a process model, or at least a quasi-process model, around innovation that was a springboard for the rest of IT. That's not to say that every single thing we do is formalized in this process, but innovation is an interesting thing. I think you first need to have permission, if you will, or at least enthusiastic permission from the leadership of the company to go do it. A little investment never hurts, that when you come up with an idea, you can have it funded. And then if there's some basic, you know, series of bullet points and process model that you can sort of hang on to as a starting point, that's probably enough to release the passion of innovation in an organization and turn it loose, if you will. So that's about where we are. We have the team, but it's become it's infected the rest of IT now on our 22nd month or so, and you know, it's one of those things that really caught fire, and now it's like everybody's doing it. So that's a great position to be in. The crazier, the better, you know.
Yeah, and I think the important part is you got buy-in from the CIO and the others on the business side to help drive that passion. I imagine, you know, a lot of companies have launched innovation projects. If you ask any company, are you innovative, they'd be kind of foolish if they said, no, we're not doing anything. So one of the hardest things, I think, would be to first define just what innovation is, and then sort of set that bar for the ROI. Did you find that you had to do that initially before you got started?
No, I think we came at it a little bit of a Wild West model. You know, permission granted, dive in. This looks like the first thing that we really think might be effective and exciting. Let's build that. And and then it was almost after that initial go-round, okay, we need to take a step back, and if we really want to maximize the thought and energy and work product that goes into something like this with our teams and with our staff, then we need to take a step back and look at perhaps innovation models that might be effective, or create some sort of hybrid and semi-formalize the process. And formalizing the process, I think, in trying to build an innovative culture is as much about retaining that permission and that notion of you need to fail your way to success, as it is about putting some basic guidelines around it. It's a delicate balance, because I think if you constrict too much, then you could argue that you've started squashing the innovation momentum. If you're too permissive and you're like, hey, anything goes, then you might not have that much to show for it, because people went in 35 directions. And so we have teams. We have a very real, fun, iterative process for what makes it through the gate. We'll collect this many ideas and whittle it down to these 3 candidates to go build, and we'll build 3 prototypes of those things. And ultimately, there's a process and an iterative looping process that we sort of go through that either makes it or breaks it for a given idea. The idea is to have multiple ideas. The idea is to have every stage of that process full, kind of all the time. And we don't want to run out of ideas anytime soon. So we keep that train moving.
Yeah, and you mentioned not being afraid to fail. I think that's important. Any innovation project, obviously, that's relatively successful has that as one of their best practice rules. Do you have other rules that you have as sort of a best practice guideline for other companies who might want to go down that road?
I guess there are. I could talk about a few things. I think that is one of the number one. If the culture that you're leading doesn't really believe that you mean it when you say fail your way to success, then I think you're in a bad starting point. Mm-hmm. Because a big part of innovation here, at least, has been the comfort that each staff member feels knowing that if their idea in the first or second or third iteration bombs out, that doesn't mean that the 10th or 11th iteration isn't going to be the most monumentally disruptive, great thing that retail's ever seen. And I like to think that they really know that I feel that way strongly, and I try to back it up on a daily basis, and that I support that thinking in a broader sense in the company. Beyond that, I think there's a tremendous amount of passion that's been ignited by that type of thinking. I think that it's essential to have the right team members for a culture like this. That's probably an art and a science, but I do believe that we've hired individuals that have a lot of courage and a lot of confidence and a lot of humility as well. The humility is important because they're working with teams, with one another, and again, it's a delicate balance of confidence to boldly think of something and go for it, and the humility to recognize that you probably need your team members to take a look too and accept constructive criticism as you iterate through these models. So I think those things would be classified as a best practice. Other than that, I think the knowledge that working schedules are not always 9 to 5 for these teams, and that we embrace that as well. We're trying right now to we're always pushing the boundaries, but we're implementing new and better ways for the teams to work, whether they are here, whether they're not here. I think there's quite a bit of latitude granted to the unspoken latitude of communicating off hours with one another. It's not a forced thing or a required thing, but it's certainly permitted if both people want to do it. So, yeah, I hope that those are some kind of best practices. I think culture, failing your way to success, support from the top, and the recognition that all of us are in this together, and that we all advise one another. There's no rigid hierarchy per se. That kicks in when it needs to, but by and large, I believe that people here in IT enjoy coming to work because it's such a team effort.
Okay, we have a question that just came in from a member of the audience. They'd like to know, what role should the CIO play in this whole customer experience effort beyond just being a technology enabler and a provider?
Beyond being a technology enabler and provider, well, I think we talked a lot about innovation. So I think a good CIO right now has a lot of hats that they're wearing. They should have the technical expertise. I think that's become more and more important to get closer to a CTO role almost in terms of the technology knowledge aspect. But I also think the CIO has to should have a good sense of marketing and sales, and certainly a deep understanding of the business and the ability to articulate thoughts and ideas, and also intake them from the chief marketing officer, for example, or folks in the marketing and sales arena. I think those conversations are crucial, and they create this feedback loop that's positive between marketing, sales, product creation and design, and then the technology side of the word enablement, innovation, and execution. So today's CIO, at least from where I sit, has to really be able to hop between channels pretty quickly every day, and be able to engage with as much gusto on the marketing side as they are on the technical side, 30 minutes apart.
And I would imagine that's kind of a difficult jump for some CIOs where they're so embedded in technology and involved in that on a day-to-day basis. But so, do you think most CIOs are geared or are adept at playing a guide or being a pathfinder to help others and channel the direction of that passion?
I really don't know. I mean, CIOs that I've talked to and that hang with, if you will, we seem to share a pretty common view of the world with the things we've talked about today. I think part of that might be industry-driven, meaning there may be some industries where the innovation isn't as pronounced to the outside world, but it's happening internally to in fact enable manufacturing and product design and things of that nature. But the innovation is there; it's just not as not as overt. I would like to think that that most C-level executives, and certainly the technology ones, are generally a pretty creative bunch at their core, and the ability to express that creative energy and turn it into real product and real numbers and real incremental sales is somehow linked to that CIO's ability to navigate the business and the other leaders that he or she is working with. That'd be one take anyway.
Okay, and let's put on your technology hat for a moment and maybe talk about the increasing importance of things like security and big data. Obviously, security is tantamount today as more and more customers get involved in the whole supply chain process. What kind of things have happened at Chico's to keep pace with the customer experience and technology, but in terms of security and big data analytics?
Well, I'll do my best to answer this question because I know that I will take a beating if I go too far from my CSO. So what I can say is that security is a paramount concern, and we believe, like every other company that's out there, we have huge recognition of the constant threat of breaches and things of that nature, and they come in so many different flavors and possibilities that it's limitless. We have we have a very good security team, top notch, and we just remain extremely humble. That's about all I can say about it. We're aware of it. We work very hard on it, and every day we're humbled by what's happening. This technology that we use to do great things and fun things is equally as powerful in the on the opposite side of the fence. So, our diligence in that area is 24/7.
Right. So in terms of customer experience, obviously you're getting more and more data from the customers. You're building a better profile. You mentioned that when they walk in the store and different stores could change their digital signage to accommodate what's happening in terms of the immediate environment. Do you see, I imagine as the more data you get, you're going to be shifting more toward individual profiles, really zeroing in on individual customers and tailoring the experience for them.
Yeah, that's a really interesting discussion. A lot of people, you look at what tech can, in theory, accomplish, and getting down to this phenomenally individualized experience every second. But I think that there's a balance there as well, and the balance isn't just the privacy aspect or things of that nature. That's incredibly relevant as well. But I'm not so sure that the optimal application of that ability is taking it as far as you can take it. I think that based on things that we've looked at, that there's that optimum point of what you're showing and what you're providing in terms of, shall we say, semi-tailored content for the person experiencing it isn't necessarily because it's Mary Smith and she lives on Main Street and went to such and such a high school and so on. So there's more of a level or two above that says, this is a female, this is the demographic that you're seeing, and let's address that a little more broadly than cranking it down to that individual level. Now, inside the store, when it's a one-on-one experience from one of our customers to the sales associate, yes, we very much take that right now today to the absolute individual level. But again, that's a different dynamic that happens 10 or 20 or 30 seconds later after they walk by a screen. And it's a one-to-one human experience augmented by a device. So I think, again, knowing the behavioral aspect of each one of those interactions is paramount to knowing what to be delivering for the optimal result.
And I imagine gaining more experience with the customer, more knowledge of them, it helps you to be more fleet of foot in terms of changing the stock, keeping up with trends, not being a slave to perceived trends.
Yeah, that's certainly our hope, is that the more and more the more we move forward with the things we're doing, we're of course learning every day from those things that we're putting out there. To your point, it's a feedback loop, and absolutely our objective is to glean knowledge from that consistently and apply it ultimately towards our product.
All right, and customer experience is obviously very, very important at Chico's. Do you have a CXO on staff? Is there a CXO position, or is there a need for one in Chico's?
We have a terrific person that joined us fairly recently as our president and CMO of digital commerce, and her name's Mickey Baradelli, and she definitely fulfills that role for us. So we're lucky to have her on board.
Okay. Question just came in from the audience again. How do you measure successive customer experience initiatives beyond just increased revenue and sales, which may be the result of a lot of combined factors?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, I think that one of the measurements in all this is engagement and feedback from the customer, and return visits or return engagement is another way to look at it, because it's in the end, yes, we make beautiful product and we sell that product, and that's the business that we're in. But we also believe that the business that we're in is providing the most amazing personal service, as we call it, and an experience that stays with the person after the sale, an experience that's positive and has added some incremental value to their life and their lifestyle. That's really one of the key drivers of the digital retail theater, is the answer to that question, is understanding what happened afterwards. Did we add value to that person's life in some small but meaningful way, such that they enjoyed that and would be back for more? So we look at, again, those behavioral aspects of the experience we're providing as well.
Yeah, and that's probably a really difficult challenge. I know I'm not going to look specifically in retail because it's a little different, but if you look at the electronics segment and the big box electronics stores, one of the things they're struggling with is they sell somebody a digital camera, and that person is happy, walks out the doors. How do you get that person back to buy additions to that camera or before they need a new camera? It's like the car and driver magazine syndrome. So do you face challenges like that? Obviously, it's seasonal and things like that. Do you gamify things? Do you keep people involved with specific types of content that you channel out to them?
This is where I sort of take the back seat to the content. I think our goal in our arena here is to provide the vehicle, first of all, to develop the understanding of the importance of why we think that content would be valuable in such a venue, whether it's an intelligent digital sign, how it's orchestrated, the web, smart device, tech table, etc. The actual development of the content itself, I'm happy to say, falls in other departments because that is a really tough thing to do. So the art and the science of what that content is, when it comes out, how it's relating to the different demographics of our customer base, the geography it relates to, the time of year it relates to, and so on and so on. That definitely transcends my area of expertise.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question that just came in. It relates to the Apple iWatch and the growth and expected growth in highly personal technology. How is this going to impact your strategy going forward?
The Apple Watch?
Well, anything that's highly personal tech, wearable technology, embedded technology, the Internet of everything out there.
Great subject, one we love to think about, one we love to talk about, and one we love to conjure up, hopefully, ideas that will become product that, again, adds to that digital retail theater and adds to the personal experience and the value. So with all that said, I guess the best way to answer that is we always strive to look at the indirect, what I'll call the indirect, we stay away from the obvious a little bit. We can't ignore it, but we try to push ourselves away from it. So with the Apple Watch, the first obvious thing might be, hey, let's take our, let's create a mobile experience that replicates in many ways what we're already doing, but in a tinier space, the watch itself. But it's really not about that. We all know that. It's more about what does the watch do that we don't do today? What information is it able to gather? And let's look at the full spectrum of that, and then let's think about, can we in fact apply any of that information to create a new type of experience that again adds value to that person's lifestyle, and at the same time hopefully ties into our product as well. Can we build that bridge? And there's a lot of ways to look at that, but that's generally our thinking process. Isn't the obvious so much as it is, this is a great new thing. Let's truly get deep on what this device can do unto itself and with other devices. What's the recipe of the new cake that we want to bake? And let's not be afraid to go into uncharted waters. I think that's the whole mantra, is not fearing the uncharted waters and all that.
Again, avoiding championing innovation or in new technology. And my decidedly old tech watch is saying we're running out of time, so I'll ask one more question and invite everyone else out there if they'd like to submit a question. So my final question would be, what advice you would give to IT leaders out there in terms of planning and championing such projects within their organization, especially in terms of getting upper-level leaders to buy into and support that effort?
Well, I think what's crucial is to start at the top. I think that it's essential to be able to communicate effectively to the leadership of the firm, what is the value in doing this? And that value, that answer is going to be different somewhat depending on who you're addressing. One person is going to only look at the numbers, and they will have thresholds of what they think is worthwhile. Does it add, what percent could this defensively add to our bottom line? is this thing scalable? You know, can it hurt us if we do it? Will it not hurt us if we do it? All these different questions that need to be thought about and answered by the CIO, CTO, and so on. And so I think that's step one. I think alignment with the business beyond just pitching it is crucial too. So understanding what the business does and how it works, aligning to your point with CXO or CMO, I think is important right now, more so than ever before. And I think then if you've gained the confidence and the vote and a thumbs up to do something, you really should have a nice stack of things that you want to do, and hopefully you'll pick the best one and pick another one right behind it so that you get some traction on creating something real.
And how do you see your role changing over the next year or next 5 years?
I think we're off to a good start, and I delight in the team that we have immensely, and I hope that we grow this this momentum. And the challenge is really to stay fresh, at all times. I mean, you can come up with some really neat ideas in a 2-year period, and they're working really well. But technology is a pretty merciless thing. It moves very, very quickly. Consumers adapt almost as quickly as it moves for them. And Chico's, I think my challenge is to try very hard to stay in front of that wave, just enough to keep doing these things and stay competitive.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. I'd like to end by reminding everyone that this session will be on demand shortly after this live session ends. Please check out resources on our ticker unit that you saw on the screen, and check back for the next CIO live event being scheduled for late May. We'll give you information on that going forward. I'd like to thank Eric Singleton for participating today, and also thank our sponsor HP for making this production possible, and thank everyone out there who attended this discussion. I'd also like to express my appreciation to the Enterprise CIO Forum that hosted and broadcast this event today. I encourage everyone to join as a member, to contribute blogs and comments, and join our weekly Twitter chats every Thursday at 2 p.m. And you can access those chats with the hashtag CIO chat. Thank you very much, Eric, and we'll be seeing you.
Thank you, Tim. It's been great. Thanks again for having us.